here today. So we're going to start with a song called Simplicity, which I love. So you're welcome to just stay seated and sing along with it. It's kind of a mellow song. I come in simplicity, longing for purity, to worship you in spirit and truth, only you. Lord, strip it all away till only you remain. I'm coming back to my first love, only you. You're the reason I sing, the reason I sing. Yes, my heart will sing how I love you, and forever I'll sing, forever I'll sing. Yes, my heart will sing how I love you. I come with my broken song to you, the perfect one, to worship you in spirit and truth, only you. Give me a childlike heart, lead me to where you are, 'cause I'm coming back to my first love, only you. You're the reason I sing, the reason I sing. Yes, my heart will sing how I love you, and forever I'll sing, forever I'll sing. Yes, my heart will sing how I love you, how I love you, how I love you, how I love you, my first love, how I love you, how I love you, how I love you, my first love. You're the reason I sing, the reason I sing. Yes, my heart will sing how I love you, and forever
right, good morning. How are we doing today?
Good morning.
Good
morning
great.
to all of you out there watching this on a screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when they should be here.
Or could be here.
Or could be
We're
here.
appreciating that you're watching us no matter where you are in time or space, and that you're engaged with us, because we know that really time and space is irrelevant in the spiritual realm, because we're all connected no matter where we are. So that's the most important part.
That's
but
right.
as connected, we still need to turn off our phones, the volume on our phones, if we're here in the space, so that we don't hear them going off. So if you haven't done that yet, if you just double check that your phone is on silent. You can leave it on and take pictures of the slides and stuff that's going on up here, but if you just silence your phone, that'll help us have a more congruent experience.
Right, and if you have an opportunity right now, you can actually get on your phone, text a friend or a family member, let them know you're tuning in to the service at Unity of Boulder. And it's going to be a beautiful service today, because the three of us, the three ministers, are going to be handling the heaviest questions, spiritual questions, ever surfaced in this church. Okay, but look, we have to talk about the
overselling.
raccoons. We have to talk about the raccoons.
Oh, the raccoons, right.
It's an update.
Yes. Raccoon update.
We had planned, the raccoons got back in. After all the work we did covering the church with that aluminum coils so they couldn't get up the trees to get on the roof, they got up to the roof and they did a job up there. They did a number on our roof. And so we had to go back. So we had raccoon eviction day on Friday.
Yeah.
It was Shad and Mike and myself.
Yeah, so we rewrapped the trees. We went up onto the roof and cleaned up poo. So when you're in ministerial school, there's not a lot of lessons about dealing with raccoon poo on the roof of your building.
No.
But that is what we did most
That's
of
right.
Friday, cleaning that up and then looking at the damage that's been done and sort of theorizing how we're going to take care of that.
That's right.
At least we'll know if they're getting back up there, because it's clean now. We see if our solution is going to hold them off.
Right. You know, the hard part about doing this is that when we're up on the roof, once we've rewrapped the trees and we went up on the roof to clean up all the poo, there are raccoons underneath the solar panels, and they're staring at us. And they're trying to use cuteness on us.
Yeah,
They are so cute. It's hard to evict them,
it is. Yeah.
but they have to go.
Yeah, so that's our current project we're working on. I don't know what you guys did this week, but we went up on the roof and cooked and cleaned up poo.
That's it.
Cooked as in we got hot, not like we were making food up there. Just to make sure we have that clear.
But now
All right,
we got that clear.
we got that clear. I think, did we cover everything? I think we covered everything.
Everything that's
If you're watching online, we invite you to share this feed, to your page, to your profile, so that other people can see that this is happening here at Unity of Boulder, and so we can get this message out and spread it far and wide. A lot of people will come to us and say, what are we doing for promotion? How can we get more people involved? Well, the actually most efficient form of promotion is word of mouth. So if you are spreading this on your social media, it says it's something you believe in and you're behind, and that helps us grow. So there you have it.
good idea.
And real word of mouth works as well. So if you want to tell other people with your actual mouth, through your mask, and a glass barrier, and a blast wall, go ahead and do that as well. That'd be great.
All right. Well, we got it
Okay.
all figured out then.
Okay.
We're going to
here
be
we
back
go.
in a second.
Okay. I invite you to sing this prayer song with me. I don't know, I just love this. So I believe we've done it before, but go ahead. We'll catch on if we haven't. I can feel you in the morning sun. I can see you in the sky above. I can hear you in the gentle breeze. You are always in all ways with me. I'll sing that again. always with me. Never a moment that you are far from my heart. You're always in always with me. I can feel you in the morning sun. I can see you in the sky above. I can hear you in the gentle breeze. You are always in always with me. With me. Okay.
Preface what we're doing here. We were thinking about a topic for this Sunday. The idea of separation anxiety came to mind, and not the traditional sense of clinical separation anxiety, but the concept that our separation is creating anxiety. And the more separated we become, more anxiety we create, and the more unhealthy we become as people, as a culture, as a country, as a community. So I think we really need to address this separation anxiety, because there are so many topics and so many points of view and ways for us to separate. It seems like we can't wait to separate. The first thing that comes up, we immediately start taking sides and pointing fingers. We can't wait to separate.
This is too close.
I almost sat down, and so when I hit the floor, the laughter would have shifted. It's all fun and games till someone gets hurt. So I just want to start off with an example discussion I had recently. I'm just silencing my phone here. So a lot of you probably saw the article that came out talking about all these college students that were partying down in Florida and how they created all this burst of COVID cases happening down there. And I was talking to someone, they were just using this language to describe how idiotic and selfish and ignorant these students were to be down there in Florida doing that. And how can they don't care about people's lives, they don't care about anybody but themselves, they just exemplify that age group. And I was listening to them knowing that one of my best friends was currently in Florida with his family. And he's one of the most highly educated people I know, one of the sharpest people I know. And to listen to their stereotype of who would be in Florida at this time, it just sort of hit me that we're just so quick to point fingers and to take a side and to say, that group's bad, I'm better. And to what end except to create more anxiety, more suffering, more ridiculous separation in our country and on our planet. And we know that a house divided amongst itself will fall. But yet we can't wait to find reasons to divide.
Well, it's been a long journey. We're in a process called an evolutionary journey, and I think we're reaching that place now where the whole concept of judgment and condemnation and blame, those issues now are coming really front for us to deal with. Because if we're going to be the new age society, if we're going to move into this beautiful place we refer to as the kingdom of heaven on earth, it's going to be, there's a new consciousness that we embrace. A consciousness without blame, without condemnation. So, and it's, we're so used to it, we do it spontaneously. Mm-hmm. We're so used to, judging and blaming and condemning others and pointing the finger, that we do it unconsciously. And that's the difference between, limited religion, in a sense, and New Age understanding. Because in Unity, we know that we have to be mindful. We can't just allow the old limited consciousness that we were born and raised in to prevail in the way we think and carry on our lives. So we have to end the separation by being mindful enough to pause, not judge, to pause, not blame, to pause and bless, not condemn.
And, and on a more individual level, I think that a lot of the condemnation and the judgment of others is coming from us not wanting to have to look at where we're falling short in our own personal lives. So it's easier to point fingers out there of how the government's not doing it right and states aren't doing it right and governors and people outside, because we don't want to feel this unrest that we feel within ourselves and what's coming up during this time in our own personal journeys, because we can't bring the old to the new. And it's all the old belief systems and limited ways that we've gone about living that no longer serves us, that has to be basically burnt out of us for a birth of a new planet, a new world, a new consciousness. And so we keep pointing out there, we're not taking this opportunity to really look at what's coming up, what's boiling up within us, because there's plenty to look there for sure. And, I'm doing, quite a bit of counseling on the phone and in person, of course, 6 feet apart. But the common theme is that they want to point out what's going on out there, and they don't want to look at what's actually happening in their own personal marriages or their own relationship with their children. And they're doing this, and then they'll give you these little, tidbits that it just feels like everything's falling apart in my life. The work situation, this isn't working, and it's like, okay, well, let's talk about that. Because what's happening is that we're in this middle ground right now. The old is falling away. So the old way of participating in this country, in this world, for this planet, is all in an upheaval, right? We're watching that happen, and we could look at it and get very fearful that this is what the new world is about. But this is the cleaning out phase, right? So while we're observing these things are happening, we have to be cleaning out the old way of doing things that no longer serve the greater whole, the greater purpose of going into this new earth, this new human consciousness where all people are equal. Every person gets to have everything that we have in front of us.
I also want to mention, forgot to mention, if you have a specific question you want to ask on this topic, Aaron is monitoring the Facebook and the YouTube feed, so if you want to put a comment on there, even if you're in the room, you can pull out your phone and put a comment on there. We don't take live comments because typing it requires you to be brief and to the point, if you understand what I'm saying.
That's not why. We don't take it live here.
Why don't we?
Too many people want to give speeches in the form of questions.
That's basically what I just said.
All right, good work.
Well, thank you for correcting me. So I was thinking about this recently. We have an upcoming election, big election, and it's probably going to be primarily decided by social media, what happens on social media. And there's so much anger on social media. It's like it's the war platform. It's where we go to fight. I just see so many people going to post to fight. Here's my point of view. I dare anyone to challenge it. Let's fight. That's like 80% of the posts I see. And it was supposed to be, here's a place to connect, but it's become, here's a place where we can find ways to divide. And hardly ever you see these conversations unfold on a difficult topic. It doesn't come to a place of reconciliation. It just gets further and further and further apart from healing. So no one's there to actually reconcile. It's not, here's my point of view. I'd be interested to learn more of your point of view and perhaps where we could find center. It's here's my point of view, and we're going to fight so hard that you're going to head so far in the opposite direction that we'll be even further apart than when we started. And I wish I could say, oh, it's a certain type of people, but I see 40-year Unity people showing up to fight on social media. Ministers, Unity ministers showing up to fight on social media. And I just sit there so disheartened by that stance, by that viewpoint, by this is what this has become. And it happens on social media because we wouldn't really do that in person. It wouldn't be appropriate to walk up to somebody and say, I have a point of view, and I think your point of view is dumb. What do you think? But that is exactly what we do on social media. This just in?
No, no, this isn't questions. This is something later.
All right. No, I think what it is that we are evolving, and the evolution is going to be from the solar plexus, which is the adrenaline center, to the heart center. We have to move from getting the adrenaline rush, which is what we really think is we're alive now. Boy, I feel this. It's the reason why we're so involved in sports and football games, draw so many people, because we can feel this whole idea of winning and the importance of it. And boy, we get the rush. Well, how willing are we to release that and transcend the rush we get from being in opposition to something, against something? How willing are we? Now, see, this is the hard part, because now you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, now it's really coming home that I live a lot of the time in that place of wanting to feel, that I'm ahead, I'm winning, I've got the right thing going. But what if that's not the place we need to be? What if in the endorphins of the heart, where I have to be able to look past the inconsistencies of others, the limitations that appear to me to be in others, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, and to just instead want to bring peace or bestow peace. What do you think would happen in those cases? You have no idea how much insight, happiness, healing, and joy will come to anyone who wants to do what the Master said we need to do. Lay down your life for the truth. In other words, lay down that ego-centered, adrenaline-driven idea of things for the truth of divine love, healing, and bestowing of peace. Are you ready for that? That's the question.
This last week, I was supposed to speak last Sunday, and my dog was dealing with some health issues, and I was here with a sermon ready and thought I was keeping my act together, but I was in a lot of fear around my dog, which this dog is, I don't know what the relationship we have, it's very karmic, but I'm extremely obsessed with his health. I've just got something with him that he brings out fear and anxiety because I just am so attached to this dog.
Rev.Syntysche, it goes dog, husband, children.
No, it does not, but it's just, he does love me the most in that household. Let's just put it that way. He's the one that asks me how I'm doing. Nobody else in the house asks that, But my dad, at one point, he looked down the hallway at me and he said, "You are in no condition to speak today." And I just started crying. This sense of feeling seen at the level of the anxiety of this world is taking its toll on me, and doing this work and being with people and just being a cheerleader to keep people okay, keep them okay, and mirror back that everything's okay. And here, my life is kind of like unraveling with my dog and my kids not being in school and no friends for them to play with in their early teenage years, and having kids with no social interaction. It is a constant job to be entertaining and keeping them okay and making everybody in my family, it's okay. And finally it was just the dog falling apart, just kind of finally emptied the vessel of giving for me. And I was supposed to leave on a camping trip this week, and I had to cancel it, and I had to disappoint my kids again when they're just stuck in this house because I needed to be near a vet for him. And eventually, I realized I was sitting in a state of just absolute fear. I mean, and it wasn't the dog. He was just the thing that was the breaking point of just, is this what life is going to be now? Is this what this new life is about, which is this disconnection from one another? For me, I'm a very interactive person. I'm a person who needs my friendships and my interactions, and this isolation. Talk about separation anxiety. I'm really a people person. And I found myself by the river in Lyons, and I took the kids inner tubing and let them inner tube while I sat with my dog, and I was sitting in this chair, and it's just pure peace. And the river was going, but I could literally feel the palpitation of the whole world was on my shoulders. I felt like I could not find my peace. And I had to be with that. And I found myself sitting there just weeping. And I was in fear that something's going to happen to my kids in the river. I was just in fear that something's going to happen because nothing is going the way I'm used to it going, and I'm in this sense of fear. And I got the visualization of, Esther Hicks, who says, when you're feeling like you're pushing that boat up that river and you're just trying to keep everything normal and trying to keep it the way it used to be and the old way that we used to function, you've got to let go of those oars. And you've got to let go and let this boat take you. Nothing can hurt you. Nothing can make you sick. Nothing can make you afraid. You have to trust this greater energy and let this boat take you where you're supposed to be now. Because the old is over and we can't bring the old to the new. That's what it was. I was trying to hold on to what I've known and how I did everything. And, I had to take my dog to a vet, and I couldn't go in with him, and they could take him privately with the vet, and I was in fear that they'd inoculate him while he was not feeling well and not give my permission. Like, I was just in all this fear of people and not trusting, because the news is just destroying our head that everybody's going to do something that you're not supposed to do when nobody's looking, because it's just this dishonest world. Does anybody else relate with what I'm talking about here? Yeah, I mean, talk about a time for surrender and letting go and stop pointing at the fingers of what's going on with everybody else in the world. What's going on here? If we're teaching unconditional love for everyone, what does unconditional love mean?
I was working on a television show. We had Steve Buscemi, the actor, come on as a guest. It was a talk show, and they were interviewing him, and there was a live audience, and people were asking questions. And someone actually asked a question from the audience and said, how do you get into character for all the different roles you've played? How do you do that? And he said, I have to be able to see myself in them. I'm not trying to play them. I'm trying to play myself as them. I have to see that part of me in them. And so the host of the show said, so you've played a murderer on several occasions. And he said, yeah. I have to be able to see myself in them. I have to be able to relate to who they are in order for me to play that role. Otherwise, it's not authentic. And I think that's where we come short of understanding and healing our divides, is we draw this line between, I could not be like them, I am not like them, they are so unlike me. And growing up in Unity, I was taught all along, we're all taught all along, we are one, we've got to be able to relate. But we hold that in this touchy-feely sense of we are all one. We are one in the dirt and the trenches as well. We can't hide from the oneness on the bottom level as same as the oneness on the top level. So Steve Buscemi saying that really made me think about the fact that if I'm going to really heal this planet, I've got to be able to understand everyone, as sick and as dark as I might think they are. Or how can I possibly build a bridge to the other side if I can't see the other side? It's not possible. I have to be able to see the other side if I'm going to build a bridge there. But the first thing we all want to do is go, No, I'm totally unlike that. I'm so much better. I'm so much higher than that, so much more evolved. And there's no way to build a bridge as soon as you're standing in that point of view.
I disagree. I think...
That'll be twice now.
Did I did?
Yeah, just in the last half an hour.
Okay. The way I deal with things in the world, in many cases, I work from the divine inspiration, bestowing peace and love, but there's also an area that I bestow unconditional acceptance. I don't have unconditional love, I can't feel that yet, but I can give you room to grow. And I can look upon all others who may be doing things that are not in keeping with anything I would do, but I look upon them as struggling toward the light of the presence of God, of which we're all a part. So I don't necessarily identify with some characters and the things that they are doing in life. I give them room to grow accordingly, and it's not that I would release them from paying the penalties that they need to pay, because those penalties at this point are their teachers. They need the penalties at this point so that they can stop and consider what it is they've been doing that is really not in keeping with the evolutionary process toward love, healing, peace, and that. So I don't have to be able to get inside, someone who's carrying on a lifestyle that is so totally egregious that I can't even begin to identify with it, but I give them the place to wake up. And I let the authorities do what is necessary to help them wake up.
I was talking about earlier, I agree with you both, by the way, so that's the Libra in me. My nature wants to find that you both are right there. I mean, you are. And I do agree that that's kind of the lens I look through, like Shad, though. I have to find, the more angry I'm upset about something I see outside of myself, on TV, on news, on political people, what is it about that that's in me? That's the question. Because if I'm fired up and I want to blaze on Facebook, that is in me, because we wouldn't have the impassioned response to it unless there's something in that thing that we think is so wrong that is not existing within us. But right now, what are we, 4 months into this, 5 months into this, and now it just feels like Groundhog's Day. I don't even know what month it is anymore. It just seems like, it's been interminable. It also seems like it's been shorter than that. It's really just time has become really the strange thing. But the old set of rules are out the window. There used to be kind of a clear set of rules that we were supposed to live by. And what we're watching is that they're not being followed through on, and people are doing whatever they want, especially people in political positions. And we're watching going, we're gasping, we can't believe that people are getting away with the dishonesty, and we can't believe with are we living in the twilight zone, right? And yet, what's happening is we have to know that the old belief system is, that old way of being worked till a certain point. And as of the last few years, we've all been, screaming from the mountaintops, many of us, we want to fix this environment. We want a future for our children. We want something to happen. But how would that have ever happened if we didn't have an upheaval where all the darkness that was pushed underneath the rug for so long didn't come to a head for us to witness, to see, and make an observation of, okay, so the old systems are out. There's not a new one in place yet, and we're right in that central point where we can be a part of the powerful energy, the illumined energy that visualizes, sees, and is the consciousness that we want to see. And get out of grabbing onto all of this discord out here, because that's all figuring itself out. It's those of us that are doing our meditation and doing our practice that we are showing up as the majesty That Christ said that we are, with that light coming through us. That we walk gently on this planet and we take care of, we bring our recycled bags to the grocery store, whether they say you have to use plastic, we say no. We do what we know we have to do to start creating the new system that is being born now. And we're right at this point where you got to think about a few years ago, what did you really want to see in this world? Don't get caught up with all the distractions that are happening right here. What did you want to see? And who do you have to be a part of that system? And asking in prayer, asking for Christ's knowledge, Buddha's nature, whatever it is that you lean on, which is that greater power, that greater love that suffices, that is you at the core of you.
So I'm going to defend my point. Because we're a family of debaters.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because
Hold on. You're going to try to take the stage again.
You got to go like
No,
this,
I'm
because
not
that's what
going
he usually
I'm not going
does.
to take the stage, but I'm getting ready to shoot you down.
So we're in a society now that's shifting. There were about, I'd say, 4 decades up to this point of a lot of spiritual bypassing, where we were taking the high and mighty road and saying, I'm doing my spiritual work, I'm raising consciousness, whatever yours is yours, whatever is mine is mine. And that thought system is now collapsing on itself. And we're seeing that racism has survived through that era because it wasn't addressed. Because there was a consciousness of, I'm dealing with mine, you deal with yours. And so now we're coming to the head with racial injustice, we're coming to the head with financial injustice, all these injustices that got to skip by in the last 4 decades because we spiritually bypassed them. We didn't have the hard conversations. We didn't go into the same room and say, I've got an issue, you have an issue, we have to build a bridge between this issue. We cannot just let it sit. And so for me, I've noticed in my own life for the last 20 years, I was taking the spiritual and moral high road and not looking at those suffering on the few highways below me, because there was no height difference. And so I was taking this moral high road and saying, I'm doing my work, I'm meditating, I'm doing my spiritual path. But then I realized I was not building any bridges. I was not lifting anybody up with me. I was saying, oh, people are corrupt and they're dark and they're down there and they're going to get their comeuppance and they're going to have theirs and they're going to learn their lessons. And I wasn't inserting myself into that process. But now we are being all forced to look at what we've allowed to happen for the last 50, 40 years, however you want to call it. We've let this happen. We have the problems today because we've allowed it to happen for so long. We could have dealt with it, and we could probably be so much further along by now if we had not just bypassed the difficult parts. But the difficult part is sitting down and saying, I can't currently relate to your problem, but I have to if I'm going to help heal it. And so for me, I always use the poo example. I did a whole talk on poo, if some of you might remember that. We wonder, how could a CEO of a corporation dump toxic waste into a river that provides pure water for everyone who drinks it down low? We say, how can we do that? That person's evil, they're corrupt, they're horrible, they should be put in prison, all these things. And I say, the same person who doesn't pick up the poo after their dog is the same CEO that sits there and dumps toxic waste into our oceans and into our rivers. It's just that one is magnified because they have more power and position to do that. It's the same exact consciousness. It just was never dealt with at the core. It's the same as a person who drops a plastic bottle and just keeps walking. That same person, if you hand him the CEO position, is going to dump toxic waste into the closest river. You have to deal with that small seed of consciousness break when it happens. But we're always looking at, oh, it's the big CEO is corrupt, they're evil. No, they're just like the rest of us that do little passes, and we don't do the right thing at the right time when it should be done, except that mine was I left some poop there, and yours was you dumped some toxic waste into a river that we all drink out of. But it's the same consciousness. It just hasn't been addressed because we didn't deal with it right then and there. So that's my standpoint.
So being meticulous with what you say, what you do, who you are.
And relating to it.
Yeah, I
All right,
agree
but now
with that.
you're talking about all of these others that we have to be, considerate of in the process. And what you were saying about the lack of integrity and people just disregarding anything to do with the law. And we see that we're all going through these changes. You're saying these changes, that on the other end of it, we suspect that everybody's going to be in this divine consciousness. That's not necessarily the way it's going to happen. We can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. In other words, there are laws that allow human beings to live together. And without those laws, there are those that would take such advantage of the conditions and circumstances as because they haven't arrived yet at that place where they're looking at themselves to become more open to what is truly valuable and spiritual and right. They're not there. And so let me say this regarding the point she was going to make.
The point I was going to make?
Yeah, the point you're going to make in a minute. We cannot survive if the lack of integrity is permitted to go unchecked. The lack of integrity and the disregard for the laws we've made, while they may not be perfect, they are still there for people on every level of human experience to be able to live their lives. If the lying and the deceit of people in high places prevails so that it becomes the winning way, then our children begin to look at that and understand the way to win is simply, it doesn't matter if you're deceitful, you don't have integrity, or if you lie, it doesn't matter. Just getting what you want is what matters. If that concept, if we allow that concept of winning no matter what to prevail, and we sunder the system of law we have lived by, we will destroy human society, period. Because if lying and deceit become the prevailing way to get what you want, and it shows that people in high places are not penalized, they get by with it, they win, they get higher, they make more money. If that is going to become the living philosophy in the Western culture of ours, then trust will not exist anymore. It means when you take your car in to get, something fixed, and the guy tells you, but you do need a new transmission because he's going to make a lot more money, and the prevailing consciousness is whatever I need to do to get the money I want, I can do. If you go to a dentist and you think you're just going to get one tooth filled, he's going to say, you really need some bridges and implants, and you go someplace else. Let me say this to you. With integrity, there comes trust. Without integrity, it is the end of trust. And when you allow that to go unchecked, you will be instrumental in destroying the human society.
We sort of touched on this in a discussion we were having, that here we are in this pandemic time. It's probably the time when the government needed the most trust from its people in recent history, but yet it spent the last 40 years completely losing the trust of its people. So at the time when they needed that trust, they needed people to listen, a large majority of the people are like, I'm not going to listen to what you say. You haven't told me anything true in the last decade. Why would I listen to this? And so you see this cry wolf syndrome that has been just cry wolf. It's been falsified documents, it's been over-exaggerated situations and things coming and going to the point that everyone's just sort of over it. So if something real comes along, they're not there to believe it.
That's the boy who cried wolf.
Well, I have to tell you, when I went to an emergency vet last week, I had to let him go into a room with somebody I did not know and never saw her face ever. The assistant took your dog. You told the whole story what's going on, and you're not there energetically watching this interaction. So everything that's been prescribed for the dog has been through a phone call. with a faceless person. I don't want to live in a world like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to live in a world. What, am I going to start sending my kids into seeing their doctors without me being there, observing, intuiting, knowing what we're saying, and I'm going to get to take what I think they're saying is good for my kid and what I don't think is good? Where we have that interaction so we can protect our children and our futures. I mean, that was really traumatic, you know? And then to have to do this medicine and go, I don't know. And it did work, thank God, and I'm grateful.
You don't even know who to thank, though.
I know. Is it the practitioner or is it the doctor? You know? But, and I also had this interaction with myself, which, you know, I've had friends say, this is your emotional support dog. And, you know, I see myself as a really strong person, so that sounds really weak, like I need an emotional support dog. But I do give a lot, and I realize I think he kind of is my emotional support dog. So is the dog falling apart? Because I'm emotionally falling apart, right? Because we're all connected. That interconnectedness, I always have to wonder, is he chewing at himself and he's having this itchy problem because I'm uncomfortable in my skin. Life is, I've not found that plateau of peace in the midst of all this discord.
So really, you're his emotional support human.
Well, I think it's a both ways, you know?
Right.
And the more I've sat with it, and because that's what this time is about, is if it wasn't healed before you went into this time, it's rearing its face in your own life. It's not just what's going on in the world. If your marriage was a little shaky before this, your marriage is in real trouble right now. If your relationship with your kids was shaky before this, then it's really, really overwhelming. If your health was not that great, it's really, really overwhelming now. Like, that's the counseling I'm dealing with. It's like all or nothing, you know? So it's really about, this time is really about going in and figuring out what is the old, and are you bringing the subconscious mind of the old and trying to bring it into something new where it doesn't fit anymore, which means things are falling away from us, and we have to let it go, because we can't have a new earth or a new humanity if we're going to go be the old version of ourselves and think we're going to fit into this new consciousness. So the more things are, you know, up in an uproar, it's not like the universe is against you. This is old, subconscious, cell memory, pain body stuff that's coming up for you to evolve your consciousness so that you can meet the new earth. And that's why everybody's so uncomfortable right now. And if you're not uncomfortable, then that's a wonderful thing.
I saw a great post. There's a picture of a march. I don't even know if it was for climate or Black Lives Matter, whatever it was. There's a picture of this young man marching. He's holding this sign. And he said, you know things have gotten bad when the introverts are out marching.
Yeah.
And the fact is, we are being called to get uncomfortable now. We're being called to step into the places that we've been trying to avoid. Because the planet, and when I mean the planet, I mean us in accordance with each other on the planet, we've got to heal all the stuff we've been trying to slough off for too long. And that means we're all going to have to start getting uncomfortable in the conversations we've been trying to avoid with our own consciousness and with the people around us. And we're going to have to start making some sacrifices for equality. And stop just accepting that because I have it good, I'm going to ignore that other people don't.
The reason why Shad can talk so blithely about these things is because, unlike you and I, he has a really small dog that's almost insignificant.
A cute little small dog,
With a
though.
big heart, though.
Yeah.
It's probably about our time.
Did anybody give a question on Facebook?
No, they've all
Doesn't look
tuned
like
out.
All right, well, is there anybody that wants to ask one question quickly? Oh, Richard, we know you're the one that's going to do the speech. Let's do it.
This is a little bit of a talk, like, maybe it's going to be short. But when Mohani joined, she left me with 3 ways of perfect mantra. She said a little bit more Ricky Ricardo, positivity rules. And so also she had her one song, Rules the Road to Paradise. Basically what I see in that is stop getting lost in negative mind chat. That's not up. If you're just positive, those Bruce, you're in flow with things. You know, but I mean, you know, she's also interested in just me. You know, that paying attention if there are little
So positivity rules. We got to sort of repeat some of this because nobody online can hear you. Positivity rules.
Right.
It's the road to paradise. So Heather, did you come down because you have a question?
Yeah, Eric James online asked, how do we have a rational conversation with someone who cites falsehoods as facts, i.e. that our world is not warming, COVID is not spreading, or is good for the economy?
So the question is, how do we have a conversation with someone who's quoting false facts? And the examples were that there's not global warming, the pandemic's not happening, stuff like that.
Yeah. How do we deal with that?
How do you have a conversation with that person?
Okay. You don't necessarily have to have a conversation. You have to give that person room to have their particular opinions about things that you may not agree with. And if you're asked by them, you say, I don't agree. Let me put it this way. If I came to the border to try to find freedom in America with my children, and somebody says, I'm going to take your children, no, that's not going to happen. So the thing is, you can say no within yourself. You don't have to create. But let me emphasize this. We are in a critical situation right now. We personally cannot allow the lack of integrity to prevail. It is critical that we do whatever we can on our path to make sure it does not prevail.
Well, to answer that question, when I go into a conversation, I'm at a place in my life where anything is possible. I have heard so many crazy theories. I have seen so many things come true that I thought were crazy theories. I've heard so many lies from really authentic, qualified, credentialed people, and truths from people that had no qualifications whatsoever. Pretty much anything's on the table for me at this point. So I have come to a place where I'm really working on my own truth and my own intuition. The amount of information that is out there, I have got to use my intuition to start filtering through what is authentic. Because I could take 5 minutes and make a video that looks like someone's doing anything I want them to look like. I'm an editor, I'm a graphic artist, I know how to do these things, so I know it's not that hard. So everything that is out there right now, I know can be fabricated, period. I know that because I have the skills to do it. So from that standpoint, I now have to start finding authenticity beyond just the spoken word, a video, a document. Forging documents, everyone can do it now on their home laptop. So we're now at a place of authenticity is going to have to be attached with intuition.
Which is one of the best things you could leave everybody that's listening with. You see, you're right. Anything can be fabricated, sound bites. We can be tricked and cheated and manipulated. But so we, if we're going to enter the new age, have to begin to rely on conscience and spirit within, intuition. Does this feel right to me? Does this feel true to me? Is this something that I understand yet? We must go within, we must ask, because we are all part of that greater intelligence and that greater love that speaks to us in the quiet place of intuition. So don't drink the Kool-Aid.
I wanted to close actually with just a thing that I watched yesterday, and it was just, I typed it out. It's from a Unity minister named Eliza Bloom Robinson. And she said this yesterday. She said, if you're trying to find out how to navigate through this, how is none of our business, drop it and stop it. How you can stop trying to figure it out, it's letting it go. Finding out how to do something is none of your business. What we are doing when we are trying to figure it out, we are doing it from the known. What we have known, and that is the old, which is from the past, which is the subconscious. And what we are playing in is so new and different than the old and the past and the current. The term figuring it out is activating the subconscious. Oh, I'm trying to figure it out. And you have to say, cancel, cancel. I don't need to try to figure it out. Let it go. Drop it. Drop into your center, drop to the earth, and allow your spirit, your soul, your mind, your heart, your body to be lifted. Instead of trying to figure it out, ask what's here for me to see. It's not from a thinking place, it's from a place of being illuminated.
Okay, we all said the same thing in the end. Very good.
And it wouldn't hurt if we learned to listen. I mean, that statement, that question clearly comes from a place of, I've stepped into this conversation to prove you wrong. I've already assumed your facts are inaccurate and that your concepts are asinine, and I'm here to prove you wrong. I enjoy hearing conspiracy theories. In my head, I go, wow, that sounds totally crazy, but what a fascinating story you're telling me. I don't sit there and try to prove you wrong necessarily. I might go, that sounds absolutely crazy to me, but maybe it's true, and we can have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But me trying to shut you down and go, your facts are wrong, this is that, it's war, and I'm so tired of war. I want to start listening and understanding people and building bridges, and if we have to build a bridge around a crazy theory you have, then let's do it. Let's write a fiction novel together and come out of it at least having some fun and having happiness and more peace and love on the planet.
You want to take an offering? Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Good.
All right, so we're going to...
One thing before you stop.
Oh.
I want to bring up the environment. All kinds of new jobs could come up. I had somebody that I've raised say to me that he felt bad for the coal people. He met with the coal people. They really got to do those coal mining jobs. They really have to do that. Well, what we got to do is find a way to move them into other business other than coal. We've got to get environmental jobs that go to the future, but we got to get them training. We've got to think about the planet, because without air, water, and the earth, we have no life anyway.
Okay, so for the people watching online, the comment was basically, we've got to find a way to transition from old world jobs into new world jobs.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we'll take an offering for unity now. And those of you that are joining us online, we thank you for joining us, and we have a few ways for you to do that. Today in the sanctuary, you can leave your offering in a basket as you're leaving. We also have a dip jar that you can dip a credit card. And then you can also do monthly tithing, and there's forms for that outside. These are all the wonderful ways that you can support this spiritual center, and you have been supporting it, and we're so, so grateful. So let's take our offerings in our hands and bless it with this offering statement, and we'll say it together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And now we have a chance to listen to Erna and our amazing Unity Band.
I count on one thing, the same God who never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will. Sing it with me if you recognize it. I count on one thing, the same God who never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all nothing can stand against. I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names, that nothing can stand against. I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names, that nothing can stand against. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will.
So after the service, we like to go to the front stairs and we'll all speak with each other with our masks on. So we'll be out there in a few minutes, but we also still have our closing song. But I just want to make one announcement really quickly. We have been sponsoring an event to raise money for a place called Hope in Longmont that helps people have shelter, get them food, and they also help people get back on their feet and actually get back into jobs. And it's an amazing, amazing nonprofit. And so how we're helping them is we've been donating the space and letting them live stream big bands from this area, and they're doing concerts to raise money to get the money to help these families. And so this Thursday, there'll be an event, and it's a suggested love offering of $20, and you can go to www.hopeforlongmont.org, and everything is donated by our center, the sanctuary, the everything. So that's our way of us giving back to the community and helping people that are less fortunate than us. And if you want to get this link, you can also just email us at unityofboulder.com, and we'll get you the link to click it. It was 2 Thursdays ago, we had I can't remember the artist. I was at home. I was so bummed I didn't actually come to the sanctuary, because I actually could come to the sanctuary. There's no people allowed. It has to be online. But I was at home and I was dancing in my house. It was the first time I felt like I'd been at a concert. It was so amazing. It was incredible. So this Thursday will be a bluegrass band. And it's going to be filled with amazing, amazing artists. So www.hopeforlongmont.org/music. All right, let's all rise and close
come on up.
with our closing song.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release, come on, and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Yeah.
So see you out front on the steps.
All right.
See you out front.